After what seems to be a long wait, DC fans were treated to new trailers for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and Gotham Knights. Each are action-packed and filled to the brim with things to unpack, such as how Suicide Squad players are going to beat the various Justice League members shown off, such as Superman, Green Lantern, The Flash, and Wonder Woman. The games are also clearly tonally different. Gotham Knights seems to be, befittingly, more brooding and serious, while there's clearly the humorous aspects of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. First, let's take a look at Gotham Knights, the Court of Owls trailer. The new trailer for WB Montreal's Gotham Knights features a more focused look at the Court of Owls, the game's main antagonists. The story trailer features narration by the Penguin and fresh visuals of the various members of the Bat family. Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, and Red Hood must infiltrate the Court of Owls in order to restore order to Gotham's underworld after the demise of Batman and Commissioner Jim Gordon. The game can be played either solo or co-op with one other player, something that shines through in this Gotham Knights trailer. The new footage also shows off the game environment, with the secret lair of the Court of Owls being highlighted. The creepy music and some horror themes in the trailer help establish a very distinct aesthetic for this game area. After the Bat family falls into a trap, a horde of talons with glowing eyes attack, bringing about the feeling that this area of the game is inescapable. The trailer did not announce a set release date, only that it is still expected in 2022. After the story premiere trailer, there was a short featurette centered around the Court of Owls with some of the original creators of the Court of Owls comics and the developers at WB Montreal speaking about the game. They talked about how the Owls have persisted within the lore of Batman, and how the studio has been able to mold what they've learned into Gotham Knights. The developers made pointed remarks towards the game's RPG elements, and how they will affect interactions. No one enemy can be approached the same way, and players will have to adjust their tactics to overcome the Court of Owls brawlers, the Talons. The trailer showed off mostly cinematics for the game, with bits and pieces of gameplay elements in the featurette. Nightwing speaking with Penguin at the start of the trailer makes it feel like the Penguin could be the quest giver for the team, like Alfred and Barbara were to Batman in the Batman Arkham games. It's been almost a year since the last time there has been any news about the game, and I am both excited and apprehensive as we wait for more content. Specifically, I want to see more extended gameplay and more of the drop-in two-player co-op will work, as there were some concerns when it was first shown off. Regardless, this new Gotham Knights footage is exciting, and it is a day one for me. I love Gotham.
If you really want to go down this rabbit hole, you need to know there's no coming back from it.
After that, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was shown, as Task Force X faces down Brainiac's army and the Justice League. The expandable and dangerous Suicide Squad is regularly given the most dangerous and life-threatening missions the DC Universe has to offer. Amanda Waller's Spec Ops team of villains, also known as Task Force X, has fought everything from crime syndicates to alien invasions under the command of Starro or Darkseid. However, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League sees the team take on perhaps its toughest mission yet, and Rocksteady Studios has given us a fresh look at the game with its new story trailer. As the title implies, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will see Task Force X sent to Metropolis amid Brainiac's latest invasion to grow his collection of cities. However, Brainiac has an advantage this time around, as he has successfully gained control of the Justice League and is using them to help his invasion. The game also takes place in the same universe as Rocksteady's Batman Arkham series. It sees Amanda Waller traveling to Arkham Asylum to recruit Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, King Shark, and Harley Quinn to Task Force X before heading into Metropolis amid the invasion. What follows is the kind of chaos players would expect out of the Suicide Squad battling Brainiac's forces across Superman's home city. Alongside the squad, Rocksteady provides the first look at some of the League members Task Force X will need to battle. Superman is the looming presence, as was shown in the debut trailer, with clear signs of Brainiac's mind control at play. Jon Stewart's Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and The Flash also make appearances, along with a short tease of Batman as a new Batmobile speeds across screen. There are several teases and cameos for other DC characters, including Penguin as he falls victim to Amanda Waller's security measures. While not the first go-around for Rocksteady in the DC universe, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League appears to be a massive departure from the studio's Batman Arkham games. The game is more colorful and vibrant than the darker Arkham games, befitting the chaotic nature of the team and the mission to stop Brainiac and the Justice League. It's introducing co-op to the Arkhamverse as well, as players can either fly solo or join up to 3 other players to finish the job. Essentially, outside the formation of Task Force X, each member of the Suicide Squad has a documented history against one or more members of the Justice League. That doesn't make the fights against other heroes less worthwhile, but it makes some of them more interesting. For example, it's no clearer than it is with Harley Quinn and Batman. As Joker's girlfriend turned her own villain, Harley Quinn has had a lot of run-ins with Bats, and it makes Batman's potential return even more interesting to see how he goes up against Harley given Joker's fate in the Arkhamverse. The Justice League answered a handful of questions. It left out one bit of information that many were hoping to learn more about. When Suicide Squad was revealed at last year's Fandom, it was made almost undeniably clear from the start that Brainiac would be the game's main antagonist. While it made sense to focus more on the Suicide Squad itself for the initial teaser, it seems like an odd choice to still omit Brainiac after the game was left dormant for so long. As one of DC's most dangerous villains, Brainiac is a threat that deserves proper recognition. He's taken many forms throughout the years, but the core of his character is as an extraterrestrial android with an incredible intellect. Brainiac is capable of understanding all sciences and mathematics, and his mental capacity is so great that he can control the minds of others. He also has the advantage of creating futuristic technologies, including shrink rays and force fields. Brainiac is often associated with Superman considering his alien nature and immense power, and in many comics he's responsible for shrinking and stealing the Kryptonian capital of Kandor. In recent years, however, Brainiac has evolved into a threat fit for the whole Justice League. Similar to Darkseid, Brainiac has found himself in a league of villains that come around rarely, but make a big impact whenever they do appear. That impact looks like it's going to be felt in a huge way in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Brainiac's threat to Metropolis in Suicide Squad is that he appears to have taken control of core members of the Justice League. Superman, The Flash, and Green Lantern were all shown to be under the influence of Brainiac in the recent Kill the Justice League trailer, and just those 3 are world-ending threats on their own. There is some question about whether or not Wonder Woman is controlled by Brainiac, but between the League and his minions, Brainiac has stacked the odds heavily against the Suicide Squad. Now that we have gotten a better look at how Brainiac has taken control of the Justice League, it's a matter of figuring out how his plan will play out in Suicide Squad. Given his track record, it's likely Brainiac is looking to shrink Metropolis and add it to his collection of intergalactic cities. When it comes to the final confrontation with Brainiac, the squad will probably have to use some unconventional means to reach him. This should make for some great action from each member of the team, and turn taking on one of DC's biggest villains into a good time. With how much potential Brainiac has already shown as the villain for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it's strange that he hasn't made any official appearance thus far. It's not like most fans are still scratching their heads about who the main antagonist will be, considering Brainiac's massive skull ship was the first visual in the game's initial teaser. Superman's glowing eyes are also indicative of Brainiac's mind control. Rocksteady appears to be purposefully holding off on a reveal, and it's either a good sign or a bad one. Looking on the optimistic side of things, Rocksteady might not be ready to show Brainiac, because it wants to wait for a better opportunity, like in a gameplay trailer. It isn't often that such a huge DC villain appears in a AAA game like Suicide Squad, and a reveal befitting the character would likely please more fans. Even though Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League hasn't fully shown its true threat, the game's most recent update was promising. The appearance of Amanda Waller and the Penguin have fleshed out a decent portion of Suicide Squad's story, and getting to see more of the Justice League expanded the scope of the game's threats. It's encouraging to see that the game is still set for its scheduled 2022 release, so hopefully Rocksteady will be willing to show off Brainiac sooner rather than later, and I am fine with facing Brainiac when playing the game for the first time. While it's rather apparent in the title of the team, Task Force X is clearly on a suicide mission. They even reference how fighting the Justice League is one of the worst ideas they've ever heard, and while Brainiac's influence on the Justice League remains to be fully seen, Superman alone poses a ridiculous threat to the squad. Even if they win, they still have the explosive devices in their head, and it seems that they have, as Deadshot highlights, a one-way ticket. True to form for the Suicide Squad, sure, but the Gotham Knights trailer highlights how dangerous their mission is too. Nightwing calls the Court of Owls a myth before being told that, when going down this rabbit hole, there's no coming back. Indeed, the court unleashes a ton of talons on the Gotham Knights characters, and it seems to be a desperate fight. Without Batman, the Bat family is all that's left to defend Gotham, and just as the Suicide Squad faces impossible odds in Metropolis, they do too in Gotham. Obviously, the Court of Owls and Justice League are not that similar. One is a pseudo-Illuminati organization that runs the city, manipulating its politicians, criminals, and more. As the trailer so paints it, Batman and Jim Gordon were essentially allowed to exist, but they didn't have the role in the city that they thought they did. Meanwhile, the Justice League is incredibly powerful and each member is being manipulated by Brainiac in his grand scheme, but both pose impossible odds for the heroes. This may be a rather straightforward storytelling device, but it means that instead of playing heroes like Batman in the Arkham series or taking on Brainiac in a rocksteady Superman game, players take on the roles of former underlings and criminals. No, there's no disrespecting Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, Red Hood, King Shark, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, or Deadshot, but they're all heading into a fight they can't seemingly win. And that'll likely make the superhero universe each time all the better. While it looks like players will be taking on the members of the Justice League separately in different boss fights, there is a chance that the entire league comes together to face Task Force X in the game's finale. If this happens, more anti-heroes could be needed to even the odds, and Deathstroke making an appearance makes plenty of sense. Though many were let down by Deathstroke's role in Batman: Arkham Knight, as his boss fight was nothing more than a tank battle, most of the frustration came from how well the character was handled in Batman Arkham Origins. Despite having some flaws, as it lacked the polish of Rocksteady's titles, WB Montreal's prequel featured a strong story and a standout boss battle with Deathstroke. As is usually the case though, Slade Wilson was taken down by the Dark Knight, finding himself in prison. The post-credits scene of Batman Arkham Origins focuses on Deathstroke, with the character seen inside a jail cell as he is approached by Amanda Waller. She then recruits him for a role in Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad, and he presumably works with her for the next few years. While he eventually fights Batman again, he finds himself back in prison, giving Waller another opportunity to work with one of the most skilled assassins in the DC universe. With a shared history, it is hard to imagine Waller not using this past working relationship to her advantage. Considering that Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League is part of the Arkhamverse, and Batman, Arkham Origins is canon, this scene would be hard to sweep under the rug. While Deathstroke may not be fully playable, there is a chance he appears in some of the co-op game's missions. He could be an AI ally, assisting players in their fight and performing special team-up finishers like Robin and Nightwing have in the past. Seeing him take on a Brainiac-controlled Batman could be a lot of fun, too, as his history of failure would motivate him to finally succeed. There is also some serious potential for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League DLC that adds new playable characters. While Rocksteady has not yet revealed any post-launch plans for its ambitious co-op game, being able to control new members of the Suicide Squad seems like a terrific idea. A playable version of Peacemaker would be a great way to build off the hype that comes from the character's HBO series, though Deathstroke remains the most popular member of Task Force X that Rocksteady include. With a neat sword and a massive arsenal beyond that, his moveset could be the deepest by far. Whether he is a playable character or simply makes a cameo appearance, Deathstroke should show up in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. With the Batman Arkham Origins tease happening 8 years ago, fans have been waiting a long time to see an Arkhamverse Suicide Squad game. It is great that it is finally happening, but Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League should not avoid including what could be one of its biggest draws. While it is possible that Rocksteady is keeping Deathstroke as a surprise, or saving him for future content, there is a chance he is left out entirely. This would be a shame, as the character deserves the chance to redeem himself after what happened in Batman Arkham Knight. One of the most compelling things about the Suicide Squad is the fact that the team is rarely made up of the same members for very long. While there are some mainstays such as Harley Quinn, the team has historically had a rotating series of villains that reach into every corner of DC Comics. Kill the Justice League could touch on this by introducing a handful of different villains that have been associated with the squad over the years, whether it's by way of a cameo or major plot device. Considering the massive threat of both the League and Brainiac that the team will take on, they will likely need all of the help they can get. Aside from giving Suicide Squad's narrative a boost, introducing more villains other than Penguin could be a clever way of setting up a sequel. Depending on how expendable the game makes some of its characters, a sequel could feature playable villains that were initially brought in as NPCs. With how expansive the team has been over the years, there's a near-endless number of characters to use that would keep gameplay fresh. After so much time off, Rocksteady seems more than ready to dive headfirst into DC properties again, so making a series out of Suicide Squad with a revolving cast of villains could be an exciting move. Seeing Penguin in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has been a great reminder that this game will serve as an extension of the Batman Arkham series. It's certainly taking some big leaps by introducing the Justice League and putting players in control of major villains, but it's a formula that has a chance for great success. While Wonder Woman is shown fighting Superman, I wonder if she will be an ally of the Suicide Squad, maybe temporarily. The finer details of Kill the Justice League are still unknown for now, so it's entirely possible that more villains will be shown off somewhere down the line. For now, we will just have to stay on the lookout for any new updates as Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League gets closer to its release window.
Waller, the Penguin is in flight. Repeat, the Penguin is in flight.
Then let's clip his wings.
Oh my God! He's getting up!
Hitting him again.
He ran out the door! Somebody stop him!
Did that get him?
No! It very much did not get him. Waller! Blow up his head!
Moving forward, this year is Resident Evil's 25th anniversary, and to celebrate, Capcom launches a Halloween site promising many announcements in the coming weeks. 2021 has already been an incredible year for the Resident Evil franchise. It started things off very strong with the horrifying Resident Evil Village, continuing the recent first-person entries of the survival horror franchise, starring the everyman Ethan Winters. To many fans' surprise, it was also announced that a VR version of Resident Evil 4 is coming exclusively to Oculus Quest 2. Resident Evil's pursuits outside of games has been pretty solid too, with the limited Netflix series, Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, and the upcoming live-action film, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which is seemingly adapting the original 2 games. Now, Capcom has opened a new website to celebrate Resident Evil's 25th anniversary and Halloween. Happy Biohazard 25th Halloween is boldly titled across the left side of the page, sitting above an image of a Halloween version of Resident Evil Village's Book of Shadows. On the right side are 9 slots for announcements that will be happening throughout the month of October, 2 of which have already been revealed. The first is a contest that fans can enter by tweeting about Resident Evil and Halloween to win some incredible prizes, with Resident Evil 4 VR releasing yesterday. On the official Resident Evil portal site, Capcom provides more information regarding the contest. The promotion is split into 3 parts: cosplay, memories, and illustrations, with Capcom encouraging fans to show off their love for Resident Evil. There are many prizes up for grabs, the grand prize being a Sony 4K OLED TV for a lucky contestant who participates in all 3 courses, with some other prizes being an Oculus Quest 2, a Republic of Gamers Delta S headset, a play in Resident Evil Village parka, and some Wolfcore patches. On the parka are Resident Evil Village's lords, Lady Dimitrescu, Heisenberg, Salvatore Moro, and Donna Beneviento, all depicted as cute puppets. Besides the contest, the big draw here is what the other announcements are that Capcom has lined up for the rest of October. Many fans are clamoring for information about Resident Evil Village's DLC, which was confirmed to be in development shortly following the game's release, so maybe some new information can be expected soon. There is also the much-rumored Resident Evil 4 remake that's said to be following in the footsteps of the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes from 2019 and 2020 respectively. With the way the announcements have gone so far, hearing about these Resident Evil projects may be getting one's hopes too high, but it would be incredible nonetheless. Capcom has also made available the Resident Evil Village Castle and Village demos, playable on PS5 and PS4. 2 more announcements are planned for October 22nd, one for October 25th and one for October 29th. What each of these announcements and reveals are remains to be seen, but there's reason to believe that at least one of them is Resident Evil Village's DLC. The Capcom website's background includes artwork that fits into the story Rose reads Mia in Resident Evil Village. While the reveals are tied to the greater Resident Evil franchise, it doesn't make sense to include Village artwork and reveal nothing related to the latest game whatsoever. If Capcom is indeed planning on making a Resident Evil Village-related announcement, then the only thing that really makes sense is new information on its upcoming DLC. Since DLC only entered development earlier this year, it's not likely to be a big reveal or surprise release or anything like that, but it could reveal plans, a roadmap, a release window, or a teaser trailer for Resident Evil Village's DLC. Either way, fans will just have to wait and see what Capcom's planned announcements are as those dates get closer. The final reveal is just a couple of days before Halloween, and it's an appropriate series of announcements to celebrate the season, as well as Resident Evil itself. Indeed, Resident Evil often dominates any sort of Halloween horror game list, and Resident Evil Village is more than appropriate to play this Halloween. A DLC announcement could spur many to return for another playthrough. No matter what though, at least we don't have a long wait on our hand for Resident Evil's 25th anniversary announcements. Over 8 years after the release of Splinter Cell Blacklist, it appears that Ubisoft has greenlit a new Splinter Cell game. Recent years have seen major publishers return to beloved video game franchises that were left dormant for many years, such as Activision's Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon series, and Nintendo's Metroid series. These series returned after many requests from dedicated fans for years, and much has been the case for Ubisoft's Splinter Cell franchise. After years of begging and campaigning for a new game in the franchise, it appears Ubisoft might be preparing to return to Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, as a new game has reportedly been greenlit. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell debuted on the original Xbox console in 2002 and followed NSA Black Ops agent Sam Fisher, voiced by Michael Ironside, as players guided him through a series of levels built around stealth, inspired by the Metal Gear Solid and Thief series. The series was a major success for Ubisoft, receiving ports to PlayStation 2, PC, and GameCube, and a sequel in 2004 titled Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell: Pandora Tomorrow. The game would later go on to inspire a series, with multiple titles releasing until 2013's Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell: Blacklist, which failed to meet sales expectations for Ubisoft, causing the publisher to put the Splinter Cell franchise on hold. Since placing the series on indefinite hiatus, fans have criticized Ubisoft for continuing to use series protagonist Sam Fisher in mobile spin-offs, such as Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, and guest appearances in games such as Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. In 2020, Ubisoft even announced that a Splinter Cell animated series is in production at Netflix. However, the publisher was still hesitant to announce any sort of new game or sequel. Now, over 8 years after the release of Splinter Cell Blacklist, notable Call of Duty and Battlefield leaker Tom Henderson has reported via Video Games Chronicle that Ubisoft has greenlit a new Splinter Cell game. Henderson claims in his report that his development sources have claimed that the next Splinter Cell game has been greenlit from Ubisoft. However, the game is not in development at the studio's central Montreal studio. Instead, it appears that Ubisoft has either handed the game to another of its many worldwide development teams, such as Ubisoft Toronto, which developed Blacklist, or an external development team. Henderson also claims that the game has been greenlit in response to the publisher attempting to rebuild its image after the toxic workplace and discrimination allegations that began to spread in 2020. While the game has yet to enter full production, as it has only now just been greenlit by the higher-ups, the VGC report claims that the next Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell game could be announced as early as next year, likely at Ubisoft's E3 2022 press conference. This is still undecided though. If Ubisoft truly hopes to win back longtime fans with this new Splinter Cell title, it needs to change its direction moving forward. When Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell debuted in 2002, Ubisoft was very different from the publisher fans know today. The Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six franchises were the publisher's first major successes in the United States after they acquired the rights to the IP by purchasing developer Red Storm Entertainment. This was also a time where Ubisoft's titles were more unique, such as Beyond Good and Evil and Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. All of this is to say the Splinter Cell series is noteworthy for coming during a particularly creative time for Ubisoft. Before the publisher set its sights on chasing trends, it was managing to release titles that resonated with audiences due to their uniqueness among other AAA game releases. This is a major element of Ubisoft's development that has seemingly taken a back seat. In the past 2 years, the publisher released titles like Ghost Recon Breakpoint and Hyperscape, and it is working on the highly controversial Tom Clancy's X-Defiant. All of these titles were met with negative feedback from fans and critics for their trend-chasing natures. A major fear fans have regarding this rumored new Splinter Cell game is that it will be another victim of Ubisoft's games-as-a-service model. Even largely single-player games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Far Cry 6 have been criticized for advertising DLC long before they were available, leading some to speculate that the publisher goes out of its way to withhold content for later paid DLC. Given it's something fans have wanted for years, Splinter Cell deserves better, and Ubisoft should avoid pulling any of these practices with the next game in the series. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell is one of Ubisoft's most iconic franchises, and the publisher clearly recognizes this given Sam Fisher's many appearances in titles such as Rainbow Six, Siege, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and the mobile title Elite Squad. On top of this, the franchise is set to receive an animated series on Netflix and a VR spin-off in the near future. Given it's clear that Ubisoft acknowledges the demand for a new Splinter Cell, the publisher needs to deliver on giving fans the next true adventure for Sam Fisher. Splinter Cell Blacklist was a somewhat divisive title given longtime Sam Fisher voice actor Michael Ironside was unable to return, but after recovering from a battle with cancer, he returned in Ghost Recon Wildlands. Given he also returned to portray the older Sam Fisher seen in Rainbow Six Siege last year, one can assume Ironside will return to portray Sam in a new title. However, if this isn't the case, the game still has an opportunity to deliver a memorable experience. Ironside's portrayal of Fisher is iconic and he is irreplaceable, but perhaps the next game could be framed as an older Sam's final mission, aka Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Regardless, there is a ton of potential in the next Splinter Cell title, and Ubisoft should understand fans' demands given the continued relevance of Sam Fisher and the series. Here's hoping the publisher comes through with a true return that respects the series' best qualities. I hope they bring back Prince of Persia and do justice to the franchises, returning to their roots. Speaking of Ubisoft, one report claims knowledge on the planned shape and form of Assassin's Creed Infinity, which will allegedly also contain remakes. As it stands, the biggest question regarding Assassin's Creed Infinity is what form it takes. Ubisoft described it as an evolving world with multiple settings, inspired by the successes of games like Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto. Unfortunately, that doesn't really paint a good picture of what this game is or how it'll play. Now, a report claims to have insider knowledge of Assassin's Creed Infinity, acknowledging that the game is still in the early stages of conceptualization and development. As such, this should be taken with a healthy dose of salt. Each Assassin's Creed story in Infinity will be a small and linear experience in semi-open world settings, something the leak compares to Hitman games. Players will seemingly take on the role of multiple assassins in this, with each storyline featuring multiple missions. There will be a new story that overarches the entire game, developed over time at an additional cost. While Infinity leads its own story, Ubisoft's new style of open-world Assassin's Creed games will be continually developed alongside it. Potentially the most interesting claim is that Ubisoft is planning to remake and retell older Assassin's Creed games within Infinity's structure, though which games have yet to be determined. This likely means that each game won't be a proper remake, but a recontextualized way to experience the lives and stories of classic assassins like Altair, Ezio, Connor, and so on. Many have also claimed to see similar speculation in the Assassin's Creed community, which makes sense. Again, it could be that this leaker is fake and saying what fans want to hear. If nothing else, this leak sounds like something that would be appeasing to the Assassin's Creed community. There are many fears of what a live-service AC game could take and what it means for traditional, assassin-like gameplay, but if there is even a kernel of truth to this post, it sounds like Infinity could be a proper stand-in. It could allow for traditional gameplay in a live-service structure, if this is indeed the path Ubisoft is taking, while the open-world games continue with the company's current approach. Sony has made it clear that it intends to bring more of its PlayStation-exclusive games to PC, and rumors have been swirling that God of War was next in line. Now those rumors have been confirmed, as the God of War PC port has finally been announced, and like other PlayStation to PC games, it's coming with some special new features that will be exclusive to the PC version of the game. Sony has announced the long-rumored God of War PC port with a new trailer that reveals its January 14, 2022 release date. The God of War PC version supports true 4K resolution on PCs that can handle it, unlocked frame rates, and a variety of graphical presets for players to choose from. God of War on PC will include NVIDIA DLSS support, NVIDIA Reflex low latency technology, and ultra-wide screen support. Since the PS4 DualShock and PS5 DualSense controllers both work on PCs, fans can choose to play the God of War PC version with traditional controls if they like, but the game will also have mouse and keyboard support. Sony has promised that God of War PC players can fully customize the bindings to truly tailor the experience to their liking. Anyone that buys God of War on PC will get some extra goodies as well, like the Death's Vor armor sets for both Kratos and Atreus. A variety of shield skins will be available to God of War PC players as well, including the Exile's Guardian, Buckler of the Forge, Shining Elven Soul, and Dockenshielder shield skins. More details on what fans can expect from the God of War PC port will be shared as we get closer to its release date in January. Technically, PC gamers have had access to God of War for a few months now, though this marks the first proper PC release of the game. PC gamers have been able to play God of War through Sony's PlayStation Now subscription service, but that was streaming the PlayStation 4 version of the game, whereas this is a native PC version. I feel this is a disrespect to the PlayStation gamers that bought the game for full price day one. They didn't give a PS5 enhanced native version with all the bells and whistles, before porting the game to PC. And the words they have quoted in the PlayStation blog seems to downplay the console versions and disrespect PlayStation gamers. Of course, PC will have the game running in higher settings, but intentionally downplaying the PS5 version and promoting the PC version is not a good look. And as I have said several times, I stand against the PC porting. I have explained the reasons many times, and this will come back and bite Sony in the ass. I will not be surprised if games go day and date, and PlayStation gamers should be ready for that. Hope PC gamers buy the game as it is available on both Steam and Epic Games Store. PlayStation is known for its many iconic, high-quality IPs like The Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Marvel's Spider-Man. Out of all the PlayStation exclusive franchises, God of War ranks at the top. The first God of War game came out in 2005, and since then it has only grown in prominence and popularity. The most recent installment, which takes Kratos to the Norse pantheon, won Game of the Year in 2018, and has sold over 19.5 million copies. Its sequel, Ragnarok, is the most highly anticipated game of 2022. The PC release could increase hype for God of War Ragnarok among the PC gamers. But we have to wait and see how Horizon Forbidden West does in sales increase, considering the fact that Horizon Zero already released on PC. If it makes an impact, then God of War Ragnarok could be pulling in some PC people. But people waiting for the game to come to PC is gonna wait, no matter what PlayStation does. And that's all I can say for now. CD Projekt Red has had it rough ever since the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077 that tarnished the studio's reputation in the eyes of even some of its most devoted fans. There was some hope that CD Projekt Red would be able to right the ship and make a comeback a la No Man's Sky through the next-gen version of Cyberpunk 2077, but now both it and the planned next-gen release of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt have been delayed. Originally, the plan was for both the next-gen versions of Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt to launch in 2021. However, it's since been announced that those next-gen versions of the game have been pushed back to next year. Specific release dates weren't revealed, but now fans shouldn't expect the next-gen version of Cyberpunk 2077 until Q1 of 2022, while the next-gen version of The Witcher 3 isn't coming until Q2 of 2022. Cyberpunk 2077 was delayed numerous times in the months leading up to its release, and so CD Projekt Red fans may not be surprised to find out that the next-gen version has also been pushed back. However, it is surprising that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt's planned PS5 and Xbox Series X versions have been delayed. After all, there was some evidence that The Witcher 3 next-gen release was actually going to come sooner than expected. European ratings board PEGI released its rating for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on PS5 and Xbox Series X, and usually when that happens, it means a release is imminent. In fact, the ratings board listing had some expecting that CD Projekt Red was getting ready to surprise launch the next-gen version of The Witcher 3, so some may be puzzled that not only is the game not coming until 2022, but it's coming later than the native PS5 and Xbox Series X versions of Cyberpunk 2077. As for why the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions of Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt have been delayed, the decision was apparently made due to recommendations supplied by persons supervising development. There were accusations from some Cyberpunk 2077 developers that CD Projekt management didn't listen to them when it came to the game's release date, so this could be a sign that the company has taken that criticism to heart. In the meantime, one has to wonder if any of the major Cyberpunk 2077 DLC will come out this year, or if that's also been pushed back to 2022. The bad press that CD Projekt Red received from Cyberpunk 2077's sloppy release left a massive mark on the company. Its stock prices fell, there were calls for the company's CEO to resign, and CD Projekt announced there would be changes to how it was approaching development to ensure similar issues did not occur again. Perhaps the biggest impact was how it tarnished the beloved company's reputation. The Witcher 2 and especially The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt got the company in very good graces with the industry, especially for its stance on not including microtransactions. For many, that reputation has now been besmirched following the company's poor handling of Cyberpunk 2077, which was a hugely anticipated game for many years. This issue has only been worsened by how CD Projekt Red has broken its promises with regard to Cyberpunk 2077. This year was supposed to see the release of free DLC and the next-gen version, and the developer has yet to offer any information on its long-announced multiplayer mode as well. This makes delaying the next-gen versions probably the best course of action for CD Projekt Red. Releasing next-gen versions of both Witcher and Cyberpunk is a great opportunity for the developer to earn back some of its good favor, which means failing to deliver could make more players write the company off completely, especially if those updated versions are just as buggy. It would be great to see CD Projekt Red deliver next-gen versions that are worth the wait for fans who want them. If not, it will have to wait until it gets to expansions for Cyberpunk 2077 and its multiplayer mode to try and win back some of its fans, but for many the damage could be irredeemable by then. Hopefully players don't have too much longer to wait for them to release, and hopefully people will get some news on when they will get their hands on the other announced content like The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk's DLC soon. And that's all for the video guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV, it's goodbye.
Welcome to the next generation of open-world adventure. Immerse yourself in Cyberpunk 2077.